I I couldn't tell you. I have no dropped frames. According to everything on my computer says I've got stable network connection, no dropped frames, but YouTube keeps disconnecting. So I couldn't tell you, man. All I know is when I'm done with this PS5, I am gonna call it a night and reset all my systems. I'm honestly too tired to try troubleshooting tonight. So here goes nothing. And to make sure that this is outputting the correct voltages for the USB ports that I just replaced. 5 volts. 5 volts. So looks like the USB and the HDMI are now all working. Just gonna use some deoxit to clean this HDMI or the USB. Wiggle test says HDMI works just fine. While it repairs console storage, I'm gonna quick borrow it. Okay, this docks with no problem, and if we rotate this, it should still dock with no problem. And it docks with no problem. So there's nothing wrong with this switch, which means I already repaired it, and I don't know why it's still sitting here not marked for repair. Or not marked repaired, and marked for repair. Oh, jeez Louise. I have to order Q-tips. Might as well order the ones that Nano loves. Power wasn't turned off properly. So duh. Primarily because I didn't test that this actually turned on beforehand. is a bad thing. I should have done it. Huh. I'm sorry, Makina. We can all go yell at YouTube together. It's not like I'm gonna be on much longer anyway. But PS5 now works, HDMI works, both USB ports that I replaced work. Oh, so did you guys know that Nano apparently uh, Thermal Master is using Nano as an ad? Thank you. One HDMI, two USB ports. Not my best use of an hour, but I mean, it worked out, I guess. Thank you, Makina. Oh yeah? I mean, that's still not bad at all. Well, still not bad at all, though, right? Alright. Triple check one last time that this is going to be good to go. Yeah, and it reads the disc just fine. Cool. So this PS5 now has two brand new rear USB ports and an HDMI port. She's ready to go. So tomorrow that's like 10 consoles I have to video and invoice first thing in the morning. Oops. I did forget one thing. Screw down the M.2 cover. What has the customer to pay for this? He is paying $200. So $150 for the base HDMI port repair and $25 per additional per additional port. So 150 for the HDMI, 25 times 2 USBs, $200. And they get a refresh with liquid metal, and it's going to get dusted out because this one didn't really need a deep clean. But if it did need a deep clean, that would be part of it as well. Wow. Yeah, I do a blanket on my HDMI repairs. $150 is the max amount I will charge a customer for an HDMI repair, and that covers anything from it's just the port to I need to rebuild the full HDMI circuit. And I do that so that way I don't have to get the nitpick between customers. Uh, because, I get customer approval prior to doing the repair. Uh, and it's one of those things where it's always a little bit of time consuming. I have to go back later and be like, hey, I apologize. Just so you know, the HDMI port wasn't the only thing. I had to rebuild a few traces and do a new encoder. And then they'd be like, "Well, you quoted me this." And it's like, I know, but there was additional work, so I'm gonna have to quote you higher if you want me to finish it. People don't really seem to comprehend that. But if I charge them $150 for either which way, they seem to understand that and call it good. Not really sure how over in Europe all you guys wind up super good with, you know, because that would be like wholesale repair price. If I were to do business to business wholesaling, would be about $80 for a regular HDMI port. So, not sure how you guys wind up doing successful stuff over there with that. But, six one half a dozen of me, right? Different places, different markets, I guess. But eventually, I would like to get. Yeah, see, I would do that, except I'm doing these repairs at between between 10 p.m. at night and 2 in the morning. So it's not like I could really call customers at 1:30 in the morning and be like, "Hey, just so you know, I need to do this." So it winds up with that small next day and then do it. When I start repairing during the day, it'd be easier. But I'd probably wind up keeping the prices just in case. Because like I said, people over here, they're not as understanding as people, seem to be on other ends of the world. Because like I had a customer a couple of years ago where I quoted them I think it was $60 for ask them if they can't sleep too. That's an idea. But I quoted the guy like $60 for a switch repair. And because the USB-C port was mangled. Well, after I opened it up and took a look at it, the M92 needed to be replaced, the Pi 3 USB needed to be replaced, and the BQ chip needed to be replaced. So I went to call them up to let them know it's not going to be $60. It's going to be whatever it was, like $120 for all the additional work. And the guy cursed me out. Wasn't like, "Hey, thanks for letting me know before doing the repairs." Just completely and utterly cursed me out and was like, "Well, you quoted me $60, what the hell? Why is there additional fees, blah, blah, blah." And when I try to explain, there's more parts that need to be repaired than what theirs looked like, they're like, "Well, can't you guys judge that better?" Yeah. Dude, over here, they seem to think that I just hook up the console to some magical computer and the computer tells me everything wrong with that console and then just quote them. Even when I explain, I have to take it apart, take a look, and see what I could do first. But, yeah, people over here seem to be in some sort of fantasy about that stuff. So, I just do blanket pricing on my stuff. Yeah, let me just activate my all-seeing eye and, scan the console for it with X-ray. Although, if I did have the money, the space, and the ability to, I would try to get a X-ray machine like what Ryan has, and use that for general diagnostics and testing, because I feel that would be super helpful for like taking like switchboards. sliding them underneath, let it do an X-ray, and like you could see the broken traces. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe until I get more stuff knocked out and out of the way, to the point where it's like I can be working in the middle of the day on this stuff, and then like calling the customer up and getting that written approval out. I'm just gonna stick with blanket pricing. Because it helps me out too. So if it's just an HDMI port, right, and it's $150 for just the HDMI port, you do get that full deep clean and everything else that goes with that stuff. But that also helps me do controller repairs because I only charge $40 to replace both joysticks inside of a PS5 controller with TMR sticks. So I just charge $40, and I know other companies are charging between $60 to $80 for that same repair. And I'm like, dude, the controller is only $75 brand new. Why would they pay, $80 for upgraded sticks? Yeah, I mean, yeah, in the US we do have different pricing schemas. Like, I don't know how you guys do it over there. Like, I would actually love to find out why there is such a difference between how you guys price your stuff and how we price our stuff. You know? But yeah, like I said, the general quotations help me do the cheaper repairs and keep the cheaper repairs going too. Because if I didn't have the little extra income from the more expensive but simple repairs, I probably would have to charge customers like, I don't know, $50, $60 to do the controller repairs. And I don't think I know any customers that would actually pay me to do that repair. They would just buy another controller that's brand new. Groceries? I'm gonna be honest with you. I I don't know if then. Let's see. Because I usually shop like Costco, which is a like wholesale idea. So that way I can get my stuff for cheaper. But I think at our general grocery shop, $1.50. Yeah, I think a dozen eggs here is something like $6 for 12 eggs. But if I buy them from Costco, I could get like 24 eggs for $7. But like, what's your minimum wage over there, Pushy? Because now a lot of the states are trying to push like $16 to $20 minimum wage here. But you also have free healthcare over there, and we have to pay for healthcare over here. Unless you're a native. Then Alaskan natives get free healthcare. Yeah, but would it really start with groceries, or would it start more with minimum wage? 13 to $14, 13 to 14 euros. How much? How many euros to a dollar? Okay, so yours is about $17 minimum wage now. Yeah. Definitely some differences. I definitely think that I want to figure out a way that I can do business to business pricing a little bit later on and utilize that for like with what you would do for it. Well, 14 euros is 17 or $16 and like 20 cents US. So I mean, still about the same. I don't know how you guys can pay people $17 and it not be reflected in things like groceries. Anywho, yeah, eventually I would like to, like I said, do like business to business pricing so I can grab consoles from other companies and then do their repairs. Like an HDMI port would be $100 for business to business or 150 for consumer. But you'd have to sign. I'd have to get like the business to have a physical contract signed where it states that uh, they cannot take it to another repair company. They must bring it to me, and in exchange for them bringing me all their repairs, uh, I will charge them. Let's see, 10% would be $15. 20% would be 30. Then that would be 45 for 30%. Whatever, 35% discount on repairs. Something along those lines. But I don't have nearly enough time, money, or people to be able to do that. Hey, Pab. Maybe someday in the distant future, I will have enough of everything to do that. How you doing today, Pab? Now that you've come in just as I'm getting ready to get off. I have some coding work to do. You're Swedish, aren't you, Pab? Sweden. Yeah. Hey, Grass Puddle. Yeah, and you're in Germany, aren't you, Pushy? Cool. Still always find it really cool how many technicians I get to talk to throughout the world. Like, definitely did not think, like, 10 years ago. Hell, I didn't even think like 5 years ago that any technicians would be willing to talk to me outside of like business connections. Because like my dad over the last 30 years built connections with other companies through the game store, and we would use those connections to get information. So like we would talk to another game store in Las Vegas, who were the guy who did all their repairs, claims that he used to work for Sony, and so he'd help me with PS3 repairs. I'd help him with simpler repairs, and then he sent me to someone else who did pinball machine repairs, and it kind of bounced around like that. But now it's like, huh, I know it. Multiple technicians in multiple locations around the world. Cool. Anywho, I must go now, peoples. I wish you all a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and a wonderful morning. Thank you all for attending this third attempt of a stream. Hopefully tomorrow things go a lot smoother, and I could get more than one console done in an hour and 45 minutes of attempts. Oh, I'm going to bed, Grass Battle. No problem, Makina. I hope you enjoy your day, Grass Puddle. You were a service center for Commodore until the end? That's cool. Uh, we signed up for being a service center for Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. But at the time that my dad signed up for us to do that, they were just finishing off using external service centers. So, like, we got the paperwork stating that we would be one, and then not even a year later, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're not using external service centers. It's all gonna be in house." It's like, fuck. Thanks. But maybe one of these days, Pab, I'll have to pick your brain about some Commodore 64 stuff. Because I've got a bunch of Commodores that I have to fix up eventually. And while most of the stuff I can do, I don't know nearly enough on those to be able to take care of all of them. But anywho, hasta la vista, peoples. Auf Wiedersehen and the Nacht.